Bonjour, good morning, and welcome back to Paris. Here from my hotel, I have switched properties. So I know many of you are always interested to see what rooms I'm staying in, especially in iconic cities like Paris. Cement tiled bathroom with a very high rain shower, which I absolutely love. Hotel fabric here is housed in a former textile factory. And if I step up on the chair like I just was, some views of the trendy Oberkampf neighborhood and Parisian rooftops. So now leaving hotel fabric and stepping out onto the streets of Paris, where I am starting this video. And as I make my way to the metro, I think you know where I'm going to begin things. There is only one point where we can begin in Paris, and then from there, I don't know how long this video is going to take because there's a lot to cover, and I'm just going to do my best. It's an immense city with just so much to see. And I just want to quickly say that the link for Hotel Fabric is in the video description. They have a really great breakfast down there with traditional French things. It's the same owners as Hotel Moderniste, so the same kind of style. And it's lovely to stay somewhere that has a bit of history, something that they have used from the old, a textile factory, but managed to really beautifully integrate it into the modern day of France's capital. Here we are, stepping out after a brief metro ride, and for a metro ticket it is just $2.10 for one journey and $4.20 for two. You can buy them from the little machines. They have English options and other languages if need be. You can also buy like 4 or 5 for 10, 11 euros and so on, depending on how many tickets you need. So we're going to start our walking tour of Paris here. So I'm now standing in front of the Eiffel Tower once more. I came here in the previous video when I showed my journey taking the Eurostar, and that was the first time in my life that I had seen the tower. And originally it was a temporary exhibit for the World Fair designed by Gustave Eiffel. In 1889, it was constructed and was the tallest building in the world at 320 meters high, all the way until 1930 when the Chrysler Building in New York overtook it. Of course, you can go up, you can walk up its legs. Many people do that. You can also take various elevators to go up to the top as well. There are a few different levels. I am not going up in this video. I do not have time. Obviously though, it's still Paris, so it's still busy even here in January as I film this, and there's always lots of people. Interestingly enough, the Eiffel Tower was nearly pulled down in 1909 because it faced opposition from literary elites and artists who thought that the tower looked ugly and it was an eyesore for the city. But thankfully, because of the newly found radio telegraphy, the tower was saved as it provided a platform for antennas transmitting radio telegraphy, which is quite interesting, and yet it still stands today. Recently it's been repainted bronze to its original color, which I think is wonderful. So for some nice views of the Eiffel Tower, I recommend making your way through the Trocadero Gardens here, and from this vantage point you will get great pictures, especially as it's getting a bit late in the afternoon now. The sky is turning to a nice purple color and it's very clear, but also a tinge of clouds there today, making it a very beautiful afternoon for wandering around Paris. So coming out of the back of that Eiffel Tower viewpoint, you can walk all the way to the Arc de Triomphe, which is down Avenue Kléber. Some very grand looking hotel behind me here, and I'm nearly at the Arc de Triomphe, although as you can see, night has now fallen, so it's dark, and I think I'm just going to take a glance and see it for the first time, and then pick up this video another day, because there is just so much more I want to show in this video and I cannot fit it all in tonight. Better to do it on another day in the daylight and do Paris at least some of the justice it deserves. I love capturing my first time seeing these iconic places while I'm vlogging, because I just cannot hide the smile from my face. As I was walking up to it, I was just beaming, being able to see the Arc de Triomphe for the first time. And it was built to commemorate Napoleon's victory at Austerlitz in 1805, but it wasn't completed until decades later in 1836. And as I'm sure you well know, a constant swarm of traffic is encircling it. The only way to reach it and then also climb to the top is to go through an underground pass, because some people don't realize and they try to cross the road and nearly end up killing themselves, because this is one of Paris's busiest junctions, and so to try and cross it would probably end very badly for you. So I'm going to come back in the morning and hopefully the weather will be good, and then head down the ChampsElysees, which the Arc de Triomphe guards. See you in the morning. Hello and good morning. We are going to continue now down the ChampsElysees, one of Paris's most famous shopping streets. So strolling down the ChampsElysees is one of those sort of must-do things. It's where soldiers parade on Bastille Day, first being laid out in the 17th century. It's also where the Tour de France enters its final sprint, and lots of familiar fashion brands and luxury designer labels as you make your way. Lauderie here is a famous place to try macarons. It's their original store, I believe. Expensive and you probably have to queue, but if you want to do it, you can. So keep heading down the ChampsElysees and you will see eventually it starts to get flanked by gardens instead of designer shops. The long walk down the ChampsElysees ends here by the Place de la Concorde, marked by a 3,300-year-old granite obelisk, a gift from Egypt in 1831. And this is the place where, following the French Revolution, King Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, and more than 1,300 others lost their heads. And it's an interesting point because all of Paris unfolds before you here. We can look down the ChampsElysees and see the Arc de Triomphe, where I just came from, the Eiffel Tower there peeking over, and then also views of the Seine River. So where I'm passing through here is the Jardin des Tuileries. This is the location of the Museo de l'Orangerie, which holds Monet's famous water lilies panels, which are definitely worth going inside to see. I went and did it, didn't bring my tripod. Here are some overlaid videos of a couple of my favorite points. After seeing Monet's water lilies though, you can head downstairs and see works from Renoir, Picasso, Cézanne, and many more famous artists of the day. And coming out of the Tuileries, we have, of course, the world's most famous museum, arguably, the Louvre. And again, I went in a few days ago to have a look around myself, soak it all in. Of course, there is Da Vinci's world-famous Mona Lisa, probably the most famous painting in history at this point, and many other works of French art, Greek sculpture, and a whole array of different things you can see in there. In fact, I read because there are over 35,000 different items inside, it would take over 9 months to glance every single piece. So the Louvre started as a fortress, and then it was turned into a royal residence, then afterwards becoming France's national museum following the French Revolution. You can spend an entire day in there. Give yourself half a day though, not to suffer from too much viewing fatigue, I would say. Anyway, I'm going to continue walking through the grounds here. They are very majestic, and everywhere you look there are sculptures coupled with beautiful architecture. Crossing over the Seine once more. Eiffel Tower in the distance there. And this bridge is called Point Neuf. And there are many bridges as you look in both directions, crossing the river. Beautiful views and Parisian architecture all around, 360 degrees. A nice clear day in winter. Do you like reading? Well, if you do, I recommend A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway, where he looks back on his years living in Paris as an aspiring writer, meeting James Joyce, the author of Ulysses, F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author of The Great Gatsby and so on. He writes in the book here that he used to watch the fishermen in the mornings, and he recalls many places in Paris, which has been really interesting to read. Maybe one day I'll do like a travel book recommendation list or something, because I do read quite a lot on my travels and I think people would find it quite interesting. Just a little side tangent there. Let's continue on this way and we will see the Notre Dame, or what's left of it anyway. Dating from the 12th century, I'm now by the Notre Dame, possibly the most famous church in the country, in Paris certainly, and it was destroyed by a devastating fire in 2019. The facade is still pretty well intact, but the interior suffered some serious damage, and it's not going to be reopened until, they're estimating, 2024, but it's still worth coming to take a look. I mean, it has so much history. The backdrop for Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame, the author of Les Miserables, and so many other associations. So I have been walking since the Arc de Triomphe. I'm quite hungry and need a bit of a rest. I also need the toilet. So I'm going to take the opportunity to hunt down a French restaurant and show you some of the cuisine here in Paris while I'm here. I'm now in the district of Saint-Germain after crossing from the Notre Dame. Alright, so I just finished dinner there in Le Dante, the red bistro on the other side of the street. I had duck confit and also a Bordeaux red wine, and it was very good. I didn't want to film inside, again, not to disturb other people. And I'm going to end this video of Paris here. There are so many more areas that I want to explore and that I wish I could have shown in this video, like Montmartre, the Latin Quarter, Saint-Germain. I mainly just walked from one site to another, showing a little bit of the streets in between. But once you've got all those sites out the way, then you really have Paris to yourself, because you're free to wander and walk the streets, which is actually the most magical part of Paris in my opinion. So I'll see you on the next video. If you like this one, then give it a like, and I'll see you then. Cheers.